Welcome back to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. Online, you can find us at retire210.com. We do this show as we do each and every week, and as we go through some of the things that you might be thinking about and worried about when it comes to your retirement. And Jay, stock market going along pretty good right now, but every time...
Don't say it.
I know.
It.
I was just going to say, nobody believes it will continue. Everybody's always such a pessimist here. And so they're all talking about a pullback. And this is one of the folks, the talking heads on CNBC. This is Kate Stockton talking about that.
Honestly, a sell-off would be pretty healthy in the big scheme of things because it presses the reset button, because it helps the trend not get too steep. Because what happens when you get a very steep uptrend, and arguably we're getting kind of close to that, is that the way it's sort of resolved is in pretty dramatic fashion. And that would suggest that we could use a pullback to sort of normalize the slope of the uptrend.
You know, they always say that a pullback is healthy for the market. When I look at my 401k and there's a pullback, that ain't healthy.
Not healthy for us, right?
I don't like that term at all. All right, I get it. The 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's how the market performs. But at the same time, I don't want that. I know that, you know, we have a 10% correction probably once a year, once every 18 months, and then a 20% correction every 3 or 4 years. I get that. I don't want that. I don't like going backwards with my money. So how do we deal with that without hurting our lifestyle in retirement? I can't have my trip to Florida or my trip to the Grand Canyon depend on the market.
Yeah, well, what you're talking about is when you're going from work life to retirement life, things are starting to change. Okay, that's what it is. You need a different plan. From what got you to retirement will not get you through retirement, is what we talk to people about a lot, right? So up until the point we've been working and we've had a paycheck, we've had somewhere to go 40, 50 hours a week. We're contributing, hopefully, we're contributing to our 401k, companies matching it. And it's save, grow, pay down debt. Let's get towards that goal of retirement. And now you get there and everything financially is changing. Okay. So we're retiring from that job that we spent 40, 50 hours a week at. We're not contributing to our 401k anymore. Actually, that's got to be our paycheck. That's our future for most people's situation, right? And we've got to find a way to recreate that paycheck and that payment that we used to be getting, and it's got to last us the rest of our life. So not a whole lot going on, right? Just a few major financial situations that are happening. And we need to plan for multiple decades in retirement. So do we need exposure to the stock market? Yes, but now it's not all about grow. It's, I need some growth. I need some income. I don't want to stick my neck out there too far. I need some sort of capital preservation as well. So it's looking outside of that 401k. It's what else is out there in the open market that can help me achieve my retirement goal.
And one of the things that we've got to figure out is how much we want to play in that particular pool. Do you want to dip your toe in there? Do you want to do a cannonball? You want to go in real hard? And that is something that is different for everyone. So as we talk through using the stock market in retirement, everybody's going to be different. You are not going to be the same as your coworker in the next cubicle over, or your brother or your cousin or your parents for that matter. Let's figure out where you are. And that's what we do here at Secure Financial Management, is have a real serious conversation about where you want to be, what you want to do, how this all wants to unfold. Retire210.com is our website, retire210.com. There's a place down at the bottom of the page right there where you can put in some information about you, just some contact information there. Get you a copy of Jay's book called Wall Street's Game. And we'd love to have that conversation with you. Just talk through what your concerns are about retirement. Retire210.com or 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. All right, one of the big questions that people want to know about is in retirement, how much do I need per month? The first question is, did I save enough? And then that really is, what am I going to get per month? Well, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has some numbers, some hard data here that I think is pretty interesting. What does the average couple in retirement spend per month? Age 65 to 74, the average is $5,400 a month. For those people who are 75 and up, it goes down a little bit, $4,400 a month. And the average Social Security benefit for a couple in retirement is just over $3,000 a month. So when I look at that, trying to get from $3,000 to $5,400 doesn't seem that hard of a lift. I mean, you know, if you've saved $500,000 or $1 million or $1.5 million for retirement, that doesn't seem that hard to me, Jay. So why all the angst? People come in all nervous, wondering if this is all going to work. Maybe they have real high needs and they're way above the curve. But overall, the average doesn't seem that tough.
Yeah, so that 5,400, I'd say that's about right.
It's about right. Okay.
I'd say our clients probably trend a little bit higher.
Okay.
Than that for their monthly retirement needs. But that's why we have the conversation here, Andy, where we hear all these people on CNBC or Bloomberg or whoever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And they're saying, you need 5 million. No, you need 3. And now it's 4.8. And well, who's that for?
Right.
Right? Who is that for? Is that for the guy who's got 3 ex-wives and a yacht and a private jet and he needs $5 million? Well, that's not most of us, is it?
Right.
We're not that level. And very, very often we have people come in with 500,000, with $1 million, and we say, hey, you're great. You're good to go. Mm-hmm. This is the other side of it too. We do have people that come in with 5 million, with 10 million. And this might surprise you, but we have to give them the bad news that this is not going to be enough to support what you want to do in retirement.
Wow.
If you want to have $25,000 a month after taxes, and you want another $50,000 a year to spend on some pretty major trips you want to take, this isn't going to cut it. Mm-hmm. So it's all about what is the lifestyle that you want to live in retirement. And as we're going through our planning, this is one of the big things that we talk about with people. And I think they get sick of hearing me say it, like I'm beating a dead horse here, but it's important. We go through a plan, and if everything looks good, we'll say, hey, you know what, this plan, you're fine. It's very stable. We haven't built it with, the market being perfect. We've actually built it with lower returns than what you should expect. We've built in inflation, longevity, all this stuff. And the last thing I say to them is, there is something that will blow this plan up there. Okay? You've given me a retirement income need of whatever it is, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. And with the assets that you have, the assumptions we've made, you're good. We've got a safety margin here. We've kind of underestimated things on the performance side as well, and we're good. However, if you retire and you come back to me and you say, Jay, yeah, that 8,000, we were way off. It's like 12,000. All bets are off, right? If you do not have that number nailed down, like you don't have to have it to the penny, right? If the 8,000 ends up being 8,100, whatever, we've put in lots of safety rails. But if you're off significantly on your retirement income, the plan is not going to work.
I think that one of the key things about getting ready for retirement planning is when you give us that sheet and you say, okay, plan out, budget out for me, tell me what your expenses are. Mm-hmm. That is an eye-opening experience. Because you don't think about what insurance, your life insurance costs you because you pay it per quarter, or you pay it once a year, or you pay it twice a year.
Or it comes out of your paycheck,
right?
Maybe even,
or
right? Yeah.
You don't think about car insurance that you pay once every 6 months. You don't think about your memberships. You don't think about your Netflix account. How much you pay and all of that stuff. And when you start to add all that up, you go, wow. There's more going out here than I thought.
Well, that's why we question them sometimes, But by the time we get to the plan presentation, we've had some detailed, in-depth discussions with people, and you get a bit of a feel for it, right? Like, are they someone who they like to go to the steakhouses, they like to play golf a couple times a week, they like to go on the high-end cruise lines, and that's just the lifestyle that they enjoy. Nothing wrong with it. Mm-hmm. But if they come and they tell me, hey, if you can get us $5,000 a month for retirement, we'll be comfortable. Really? Because that doesn't sound like the sort of life that you live. Mm-hmm. Now, can we revisit that? And can we make sure that $5,000 isn't really 8 or 10? Because then we're not doing you a service with the planning that we're doing, because that's not going to get you the lifestyle and retirement that you want.
I also think about, we talk about a 20-year retirement, 25-year retirement, 30-year retirement. So I think about the stuff that I was buying and paying for back in the year 2000, 25 years ago.
Right.
There was no Netflix. There was no Hulu.
Yeah.
There were cell phones, but they certainly weren't smartphones, and they weren't like what we pay today. There weren't all the apps and all the different things. There are new expenses that I'm paying for now that I didn't even dream of back in 2000 because they didn't exist.
The biggest one is Amazon.
Well, there's another one.
Us.
Yeah.
Like there's 3 different Amazon delivery schedules in our neighborhood, and I only know because he's here at our house at every one. And I was like, what is it this time? Right? And I open a box and it's like something for the kids. I'm like, all right, whatever. But I mean, I'm guilty of it too, right? Because you click a button.
Yep.
And boom, like you just goes to your card, you don't see it. And it's easier, probably it's deliberately planned that way, right? So we spend more money. But yeah, you're spot on.
There's things that we're going to pay for 25 years from now that don't even exist right now. And you're going to be a big fan.
Maybe in our mind, we just automatically buy something.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
You're listening to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood. The purpose of this show is really to get you thinking and get you thinking about retirement and get you thinking about what you're in for. And are you ready for it all? Do you have help along the way? Well, if you've never had a financial advisor in your life, this is a time where the whole dynamic changes. You're going from putting money away to spending that money. And boy, does that change the picture. Let's get a plan for it. Give us a call. We'll put one together for you. Retire210.com is our website. Retire210.com. Go down to the bottom of the page. There's a place for you to put some information in. You can even write in what you're interested to talk about. We'll get you a copy of Jay's book called Wall Street's Game. And let's have a meeting. Let's just sit down and talk through your concerns. And what do we do about it? Well, how can we help you along these lines? Retire210.com or 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. All right, one of the great comedy routines of all time is George Carlin and A Place for My Stuff.
That's the whole meaning of life, isn't it? Trying to find a place for your stuff. It's all your house is. It's a place to keep your stuff while you go out and get more stuff. Now, sometimes you've got to move. You got to get a bigger house. Why? Too much stuff.
And nobody knows that more than you because you got 3 young kids and there's stuff all over, isn't there?
There is.
All right. Well, how am I going to weave this into a financial lesson? Okay. In retirement planning, that's kind of what we do. We go to Jay's office and we bring all our stuff. It is material stuff. It is financial stuff. And we've got to figure out where our stuff is going to go. Where do we put our financial stuff? And when we leave this world, is there a plan for our stuff? So, Jay, talk to me a little bit about this because this is a part of retirement planning. Get the investments done, get the Social Security, the health care, the taxes, all that. And now we have to start thinking about, where does our stuff go? Talk to me about estate planning.
Yeah. So this has become such an important thing. Probably 10 years ago, we basically set up a program where we have a relationship with estate planning attorneys and tax preparers as well, because there's a lot of things going on, right? There's a lot of balls in the air. All right, I've retired. I've got here now. I've got my 401k. Maybe I've got a pension. I've got some rental houses that I've acquired over the years, and I've got some CDs, I've got some individual stocks, and I've got my house, I've got the vehicles. How does the retirement work with this? How can I be tax efficient? Whenever something happens to me, I want my spouse to be taken care of, and then make sure our kids get it after. There's a ton of stuff going on.
And this brings in the whole legal aspect of it because, so many of us, me included, you start having children in your 20s, and then somebody says to you, you've got to have a will, because if you leave this world, you've got to have something that tells, who's going to help and where's the money going to go. And so you did that, and then it sat there for 40 years. And now the whole thing is different. Your kids have grown up. They got married, they're out, hopefully, and now it becomes a whole different story. So the idea of wills and trusts and asset protection trusts and revocable and irrevocable, and there's a whole new vocabulary that you got to learn, isn't there?
Yeah, actually, I had a Zoom call with a lady out in Atlanta yesterday, actually, who's becoming a client of ours. And we talked about estate planning. And I said to her, okay, hey, where are you with your estate planning? And she's like, well, I've got a will, but it's a handwritten will.
Okay.
And I said, okay. I said, well, how long ago did that happen? And she said, well, I did it when my daughter was born.
There it is.
I said, okay. And I said, is this the daughter who's graduating college in next year? She's like, yep.
And where is it? I think it's in the couch. I'm not sure.
Yeah, somewhere there. Yeah.
Yeah, that is something that we have to really sit down and talk about. And I think that one of the things that's good about sitting down with a financial advisor like yourself who has those relationships, then you don't have to chase all over town and say, I got to go see this guy over here and then come back to you and say, is this okay? And then go to my tax guy and go over here and say, is this okay?
Yeah, nobody's talking to each other in that example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Nobody's talking to each other. And it's very common we're having discussions with the attorneys or the CPAs, and it's just, hey, I need this information from the client. Can you just give it to me so we can make it easier for them? Yeah, and that's what you want, right? Like, do you want retirement to be easy or complicated?
Right. And
like, if it was complicated, just stay working, right? What's the difference?
Exactly. Well, we want to get the whole umbrella, everything under the umbrella taken care of when it comes to retirement planning. And this is one of those issues that maybe you have a financial advisor right now and you're listening to this show wondering what Jay is all about and if you're missing anything. And then there's people who have everything all set, but this is the one component that they don't. And they've been putting it off. It's hard to think about talking about your death. I get it. But it's something that we really, truly need to do, because what you don't want to do is cause a problem for the people that are left behind. You don't need people, fighting over piano that nobody plays. And it's just, this just doesn't make any sense. Give us a call. Let's have that part of the discussion as well. 210-985-6200. Again, 210-985-6200. Or our website is retire210.com. I'm going to talk a little bit about 401ks here because it's in the news, and I've seen this more than once, probably at least a half a dozen times now. President Trump is thinking about doing an executive order that allows private equity firms to have offerings in your 401k. Now, this is Rebecca Walzer, and she's on Fox Business talking about the idea of what is private equity and should it be in your 401k? And should it be something you're interested in?
The problem is that the 401k administrators don't want the liability of actually advising you what to invest in, whether it's right for your risk profile, right? So they're not going to tell you, yes, you should do this. They're just going to say, here's the new offerings. And then whatever the prospectus is and whatever the disclaimers are, that's what people are going to have to read. And so people aren't going to read them, and they're not going to really understand what their risk is. I'm not against private equity, absolutely. But to give private equity to every investor in their 401k when they have no understanding of the risk level that it could be, but they just say, hey, this is what you do, automatically enroll, automatically contribute, and don't worry about it. Just set it and forget it. And that's not something you can do with private equity.
Okay. What is private equity and why is it at a high risk, and should we be interested in it if it pops up in our 401k?
Yeah. So she's not wrong with most of what she says, right? And that's a problem we always run into with 401ks. And it's not bashing 401ks. If you're working, contribute to your 401k, please. If there's a match and you're not at least getting the match, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's a dumb move to not at least take the match. It's free money. It's the best return on your investment you're ever going to get. You should do it. What she's highlighting here, and this, in our opinion, this becomes more of an issue once you're moving into retirement. But most 401ks, first of all, they don't have a lot of options. Right? Like, most of them really don't. Like, you look at it and you're like, well, I've got 20 options. Like, no, you've really got like 10 or 12, because half of those options now are these retirement date funds, right? Where it's a target 2030, 24, whatever it is. So there's not that many options. And so private equity is a far more complicated investment than just, I'm in the S&P, or I'm in the NASDAQ, or I'm in growth, or I'm in international. It's far more complicated with the assets that are held underneath that umbrella. And it could be a variety of different things. And this is why she mentions these disclosures and all this sort of stuff that you've got to read. Look, this is the truth. People are not going to read the disclosures. Yeah. They're just not, right? But private equity, oh, it looks good, I'll throw some money in there. And if you call the 401k provider, they're concerned about giving advice because they don't want to be on the hook for a recommendation. And most private equity used to be, at least, I think it still is, they might be making an exception for this 401k. It used to be only available, or almost always only available, to accredited investors. And so accredited investors, you had to meet a certain income and or net worth requirement to be able to access those investments. And on the surface, you might think, oh, they're trying to keep that from the regular minions like me. Well, think what you like, but the real reason for it is that they were more sophisticated investments that had, yes, greater potential for return, but greater potential for risk as well. And when I saw this coming out a few months ago, I thought, this is a great idea until a 2008 event happens again. Everything's going to be fine until we get that event unfold, right? So we all know what happened to the stock market in 2008. What was it caused by? The mortgage side of things. And what happened with the mortgage side of things? There were adjustable rate notes, and people were like, I didn't understand this whole thing that the rate was going to change on me. There were interest-only loans. Like, wait a second, my payment's going from $3,000 to $10,000. I thought this was my whole payment, and everything. Nobody understood the complexity of the products that they were getting into, right? Blame them, blame the bankers, whoever it is, whatever. It ended up being a big mess. It's going to be the same thing with this. Mm-hmm. Whether it takes 2 years to unfold or it's a 10 or 15-year story, there's going to be investments in this pocket that I'm not demonizing the investment. There can be some great private equity to go into, but people are not going to understand what they're getting into.
I think the names sometimes in 401k funds can be deceiving. I mean, you look at something and it says a stable value fund. Well, that seems good.
And then you lose 10%.
Right. the Wellington Admiral Make Yourself a Million Fund. I'm getting in that one. But, if somebody looked at me and said, do you want Bitcoin in your 401k? I'd go, I know a little bit about Bitcoin, but I don't understand it. But I do know it's risky. And I think that, private equity, they talk about IPOs and all these different things that may show up in your 401k. It doesn't necessarily mean that is something you should dip your toe into. And now, would you, if somebody came into you and say, hey, I'm still working, I've still got this 401k, and these are my new offerings, you'd look at that and say, okay, let's dive in here a little bit and find exactly if this is right for you?
Well, let's talk about what's even available to you. And this is what ends up happening most of the time. Most employers, if you're over 59 and a half and you're still working at the company, most employers, you can roll your 401k out if you choose. You remain working there, you keep contributing, you get the match if there's a match, but you can roll the balance out, right? And most of the time we get into a 401k discussion, we look at, okay, these are your options. And like I said before, there's 8, 10, 12 real options. You leave that environment and you go to someone like us, and we use Schwab as our custodian for all of our offerings that we have there. And you go from a dozen to multiple thousands that you can have access to, right? And so, I think it's a fair statement to say that if you've got 10 or 12 options versus thousands, can you get a bit more diversification, a few more options that you want when your availability goes up by a factor of 20 or so? Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, that is one age that we probably should key in on more, and that is 59 and a half, because now you have that ability to take money out of a 401k and not have a penalty. You also have the ability to roll money out into your own IRA, like what Jay is talking about. There's a lot of options there once you get to be 59 and a half, because that truly is, we all think 62 or 65 is retirement age, but it really does begin at 59 and a half when it comes to those kind of products. Give us a call. Give us a look at our website. Let's talk about your 401k. Let's talk about the options. Let's talk about how you build that 401k into income in your retirement years. There's a lot to talk about, and let's find out how to get you the money you need for your lifestyle in your retirement years. Let's build that kind of a plan for you. Here's our number at our website. It is retire210.com. retire210.com. There's a place down at the bottom of the page where you can put some information in there, and that'll give our team a cue to give you a call, start the conversation, say, what are you interested in, what's worrying you, and how can we help? We'll put you through what we call our 5-step process, and the first part of that process is just listening, having a meeting and finding more about you and what you want to do in retirement. Then we can move on from there. You can give us a call as well and start that process at 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you want to hear more, remember to hit the like, follow, or subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next week here on Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jamin J. Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.